Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the position 4 tier list for the Stockholm Major, and as always, just like the other videos, this is all based on the statistics from the Stockholm Major, and I watched a lot of the games, but I'm really just looking at the statistics as well to inform my decisions. And as you'll see here, a lot of the heroes are in F or D tier just because it's very top heavy in the way that Captain's Mode works and the way that high level Dota works. So briefly, let's talk about F tier with all these heroes in it. None of these heroes were really relevant. They either weren't picked at all or lost every single game. There's no real surprises here. Just a lot of kind of odd heroes that don't really work. I mean, Lion was good maybe a lot of patches ago, but has gotten nerfed and just fell off completely. So Lion just is completely irrelevant. I'm actually surprised Dark Willow didn't get more play. Dark Willow seems like a decent hero, but for whatever reason, just not very viable right now. Elder Titan is kind of hit or miss. So Elder Titan really not picked up too much this patch, but TI-10 and some of the other patches, this hero was absolutely ridiculous from the 4 position, but still. Those heroes are all in the F tier. And then we have D tier here. These heroes were picked up a few times, but still had abysmal win rates. Either lost, almost every game, maybe a couple wins here or there, but just weren't that great from the 4 position. Lena, just bad overall, especially from the 4 position, but also as a mid. Shadow Demon was picked sometimes, but just didn't have a great win rate. Very bad win rate overall. So that's why it's down here. Spirit Breaker was tried out a few times, not great. Weaver has just fallen off as a 4 position since the recent patches and the nerfs to this hero and all these kinds of things. And then just, Earth Spirit, Nyx, Veno, none of these heroes are really relevant right now. So that's D tier. Pretty much just a little bit more relevant than F tier, but not very much at all. Kind of just won only a couple games there. So those are the irrelevant heroes for the Major. Now we can go to S tier. So the S tier heroes, the first one for 4 position is actually going to be Enigma. And that's because Enigma was such a good hero in this Major, especially later on to the main stage. It was hotly contested. It was either picked or banned in almost every single game in the grand finals, the loser bracket finals, the winner bracket finals, all these games, especially because OG has Taiga, who plays a really good Enigma, and then we also have Saberlight playing a great Enigma. And this hero is really good because it could be played from the off lane or flexed to the 4 position, so Moon Meander played it as well. And it's just like you cannot count this hero out because it wins lanes pretty hard with the fact that it denies range creeps. It can then retreat to jungle. You basically get another off lane from the 4 position, and then later on with just like Blink, BKB, and the black holes, and then potentially Refresher, you just like have the late game. It doesn't even matter what the rest of the lineup is. If you have an Enigma on your team, you have the late game. Like, you don't care if it goes late. So this hero was absolutely ridiculous for that reason, for all the same reasons that Enigma is very good in any patch or any Major. And then we actually have Grimstroke here. So Grimstroke is one of these heroes that basically can be played from the 5 or the 4 position, but was really good in a lot of different ways because of the ultimate that would stop things like Pango, things like Storm Spirit. A lot of these heroes that rely on mobility, Grimstroke is just a really good counter to them. This hero also was recently changed where the Ink Swell was reverted back to what it was before. So they made it like weird. They made it last a little bit longer, and so the stun didn't come out as quickly, and so it was just an absolute garbage hero. And since they reverted that, this hero has come back into the meta. There's also a lot of different reasons that this hero can be good. It's good against anything that has illusions, basically, so that's why a lot of the illusion heroes are not good, because this hero is good for other reasons, and then you can't really pick an illusion hero into Grimstroke. It stops a lot of these mobility heroes. This stun is really good overall. It's great in so many different ways. Doesn't really have a bad laning stage, just so many different things you can do with Grimstroke. And there were a lot of like single target spells like Doom, like Bloodseeker Ultimate, which was pretty popular. A lot of these things combo super, super well with Grimstroke, so that's why Grimstroke was pretty popular. We also have Io. Io generally is either broken or completely garbage. I feel like Io is almost always relevant in pro majors, TIs, these kinds of things. And one of the main reasons this hero is good is because you pair this hero up with like Storm Spirit and these kinds of heroes that need mana regen. And because of the changes to this hero, it's just a kind of a broken combo. Leshrac is another one. Just any hero that needs this regen, and you're just going to stomp games. That's why Io Storm was kind of a very popular opening, because of just the ability for Storm to stay on the map with all of that regen, with the mana regen from Io. So that's mainly the reason this hero was good. Then from the 4 position, we also have Monkey King. Monkey King was a very, very good hero for a lot of different reasons, but largely the flexible pick that you can get in the early portion of the draft, and then you can later, make it carry, you can make it 4 position, you could even put it mid potentially. That's one of the big things about Monkey that is almost always going to be making this hero viable in some way, because as long as it's a decent hero, and you can flex it to all those positions. It's just always going to be a good early pick. So we saw it, as a carry many times, very good from that position. But then if it wasn't a good Monkey King game for whatever reason, they would put it in the forward position. We saw it have a lot of success there. This hero just like bullies people out of lane. Like it bullies a lot of 5 positions. It can just be so annoying. And then you get that second offlaner, you get that 4th core in the game. And even if you're a 4 position, you don't have that many items. You maybe have 1 item, maybe you have Diffusal, maybe you just have BKB, whatever it is. You can still do so much in a fight because you have this ultimate that you can just put down in an area and you still do a crazy amount of damage, and you can just zone out supports and these kinds of things with this hero. So just a really good 4 position in this patch. Then Snapfire, just a general overall good support. It was kind of flexed. It was in the 4 or 5 position. Didn't really matter. It can be played in pretty much either one. So we put it here as a 4 position that was popular because it could play in that role occasionally. And it's just good for all the reasons Snapfire is good. This hero just has a great kit overall. A positioning ability that also stuns, a slow that does damage, clears creep waves, can stun later on with the shard, something that allows you to take towers, take Roche a little bit easier, and a long-range ultimate that does a ton of damage to any heroes that have stuns to combo with, and these kinds of things. Snapfire is just good overall, and I think you can almost never count this hero out. I think this hero's almost always going to be relevant. It's kind of like Enigma in this way. It's kind of like some of these heroes where, like Mars, where the kit is just so dynamic and so good that it's very hard to make this hero irrelevant. And then we have Enchantress. This hero is kind of insane. Always has been insane. I feel like it's always going to be relevant in another way because of the kit, the way that it's designed. You have ridiculous damage with your impetus. You go later in the game, this hero becomes another core. Like I keep saying, all these 4 positions become other cores, it seems like. We've saw so many different examples in games this tournament where the ultimate just allowed this hero, and the healing allowed this hero to just make so much space and be pretty much unkillable. We saw... I think it was it Dubu? I think it was Dubu on this hero, even though he's a 5 position player. Enchantress can be 4 or 5. We saw him just like roaming around with this hero and being completely unkillable. So like he just distracted a bunch of players, like 4 different players. He distracted them for like 5 minutes. It was just absolutely insane what this hero can do for all the same reasons Enchantress is good. The other big thing I will mention about Enchantress is those creeps that you can get, especially the troll creeps with the rally skeletons. They were sort of nerfed. Like, basically, you can't get those creeps, I think, with Enchantress. You can't get them, I think, pre-5 minutes because of your leveling, like you were able to in the previous patch before the small nerfs. But, like, it doesn't even matter because, 8-10 minutes, you can still get these creeps and just run at a tower and just kill all the towers. It's absolutely ridiculous what this hero can do with pushing towers. It's just not as broken as it was, but still very relevant, still very good. Kind of more of a 5 position, but still can be played as a 4, so that's why I put it here in this tier list. And you can see there's a lot of S tier heroes because I think a lot of these supports were just, I can't really count one as better than the other. Grimstroke was probably one of the most popular picked and banned heroes, but just kind of had hovering around a greater than 50% win rate. So it's not like I'm going to put this hero as far and above all the other heroes, but still very good S tier supports here. Then we're going to move on to A tier. We have Keeper of the Light. I think this hero fell off a little bit, was more popular in the beginning of the patch, the beginning of the major, was nerfed a little bit, I think, in the last patch. That could be partially why. We also saw it stomping mids a lot, mid lanes a lot, and I think a lot of teams were just opting for the IO or for the Pugna for that mana regen as a support rather than Keeper of the Light. But it was still relevant. It was still good. It was getting picked up in some games, had an okay win rate, so that's why I'm putting it here at A tier. Treant Protector was not picked that much, but it had a very good win rate when it was picked. And it's, it can play 4 or 5, so it's one of these kind of flexible heroes. And so, if you have a team that you want to heal the towers, if you have a team that, especially against Enigma, where you can just use your ultimate to cancel Black Hole, it can be very good. So I think that's kind of a matchup thing, is why Treant was pretty popular, because against Enigma and some of these heroes that have these ultimates that are really good, Treant can be very, very good in that way. Shadow Shaman, another very good hero, largely because of the ability that he has to take Roshan and towers now with his ultimate. Well, obviously, his ultimate's always been good at taking towers, but now you can kind of Roche with this hero. If you have like any other heroes in the game that can take Roche, and even if you don't, you can take Roche at like 10 minutes with this hero. You just like put your wards in the Roche pit, and then you have like maybe your carrier mid there, your offlane or whatever, maybe 1 or 2 other heroes, and you just take Roche at 10 minutes. And it's just so good. Plus, the permanent lockdown that this hero pretty much provides can never be counted out. So Shadow Shaman is A tier in that way. It was pretty popular in that way. Mirana we see here for all the reasons that Mirana was good. We saw Moon Meander stomp with this hero a bunch of times. Overall, just a pretty solid Mirana patch. The ultimate's always pretty good. I think Mirana's just always going to be semi-relevant because, the arrow can always be good if you have any setup, any stuns. It's always going to be great for that. It's always going to be great because you have this ultimate that forces the enemy to buy dust and sentries and waste money and gold and time on that. And if you catch them without those things, you just, have an insane advantage. And this hero can kind of transition to that fourth core like I've talked about in the past. We also have Hoodwink here. Hoodwink is largely here because you have a lot of, you have a good stun, you have some decent damage, these kinds of things, but also having that break is just so invaluable because, Viper kind of fell off, wasn't great. A lot of other heroes like PA with the break, with the shard, just a lot of these heroes that have breaks in the game aren't very popular right now. And so having Hoodwink as a support that has that break with the ultimate and the amount of damage that you can deal, locking people or stun locking people in trees and these kinds of things, it just is really, really valuable right now. If you need a break, you pick a Hoodwink and you are secured in that area of the game. So had a decent pick rate, and win rate as well. So that's the A tier. We're going to move on here to B tier. B tier, we have Rubik and we have Phoenix. These are the only two heroes here, largely because their win rates and pick rates were not that great. They weren't like the heroes of the patch, but they're still relevant. Largely because I think Rubik was largely picked up because of things like Enigma, things like Doom, these kinds of things, counters to heroes that have big ultimates. And then Phoenix was picked up at portions of the tournament by certain teams, especially later on to the main stage, to combo with things like Mars, to combo with other things, other ultimates like Monkey King ultimate, to just secure an area and say, if we have a good Phoenix game, you can carry a game with Phoenix, even from the 4 position. It's just that if it's a bad Phoenix game, or you don't snowball, or you don't have this team fight later, or they can just get on top of the egg, it can feel really, really bad. I don't think it had even a 50% win rate, so that's why it's here. It wasn't picked all that much, but when it was picked, it was relevant, and it can give you this insane team fight later on into the game. It's just one of those heroes that it's just more of a niche pick. And then lastly, we have C tier. We have Tusk, Clockwork, Sky, and Wind Ranger. None of these heroes were super relevant. They weren't all that great, all that popular. If anything, if they were picked at all, which was Skywrath, they fell off later into the tournament. And then Wind Ranger I'm putting here because Wind Ranger was a support, was played and was kind of popular, but it was pretty much only played by Seb in OG. And that's really the reason why this hero was relevant. Otherwise, nobody else was picking it. And Seb was playing the 5, not the 4, even though occasionally he would play as the 4 position, kind of laning with the offlaner. So that's why it is here. Maybe you could put it higher on the list, but as a 4 position, it wasn't really, it was mainly Seb as a 5. So that's why I'm putting it here and not higher up on the list. But that is the 4 position tier list. For the Stockholm Major. I pretty much just put like any hero that plays 4 position generally, even if they didn't play 4 position that much in this tournament, they could be flexed to 5, these kinds of things. I put them in this list regardless, like things like Enchantress, Snapfire. Some of these heroes were played more as a 5 than a 4, but regardless, they still can be flexed with it, so I still included them in this list. But some of those will also be in the 5 position list that I'll release tomorrow as well. So in any case, as always guys, if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. Join the Discord, link is down below. Also, go to my Patreon if you want coaching or you want to support me in general to see more videos like this into the future. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.